It's Beer O'Clock, and it's the Beer O'Clock show, where every week we take a selected beer, drink it, and talk about it. My name is Mark, and joining me with a head creamier than a Mliko-style Pilsner, it's Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing very well, mate. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Just recovering from what was a very beer-laden weekend.
You basically, well, we both almost had all the beer this weekend. You had a little bit more than me.
Hashtag all the beer, yes.
It was a pretty good weekend, really. All the beery content that we managed to fill.
It was, yeah. I was thinking about it sort of last night as I got into bed, thinking, oh my word, I am absolutely shattered this weekend. Yeah, three events in total this weekend. That's a new record, new personal best.
Yeah. So let's start with the first one. Just very briefly, we mentioned it last week and a couple of weeks before that. We went on a pub tour with Vic from Dragon and Flagon pub tours that we've been on a few times together before. It was your fourth and my third. That was a pretty good night out. Bloody long though.
It was a great night out, but as you say, incredibly long in terms of the walking distance that we did. Yeah, my feet were killing me by the end of the evening, but some amazing sights of London, some good pubs.
Not so good
beer. The beer leaves a lot to be desired, but sometimes I think you have to put that to one side and not be such a snob about the beer, because it's nice just to go out with people that fancy a walk around London and looking at some of the history of the town.
Yeah, we met some people from all over the world. It's a good night out.
Yeah.
Doing a 3.5 hour walk with 6 bottles of beer in my bag. Didn't do my knees much good, but it's all good exercise. And we saw some great bits of London. I've never been to St. Catherine's Wharf before, where it all ended up. Beautiful part of town.
Yeah, a beautiful beautiful final scene as well for that tour.
Indeedy. And leading on to our next bit, the best beer that we both had on that pub tour was Pilsner Urquell, which we found on draft in one of the pubs.
We did, yes.
And you and I were very lucky to have gone to Taste of London yesterday, Sunday. Where was it yesterday?
Well, when people are listening to it,
it was Sunday, wasn't it? It was Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh,
for us it was yesterday, but for our listeners it could be anywhere from 5 days to 4 weeks ago. Who knows?
Where they Pilsner Urquell had a huge stand right in the middle, and they had their tank beer, which is basically Pilsner Urquell with fresh as you like beer in it. Yeah. 4 days old.
Yeah, 4 days old Pilsner Urquell, unfiltered, unpasteurised, tasting absolutely stunning. If you've never had Pilsner Urquell from the tank, I would seriously recommend going out of your way to find it.
Yeah. Because comparing that to what we had on Friday night, it was miles above what we had.
Yeah. If I think I said to you yesterday that considering where we started with the show and our hatred for lager and all things yellow and fizzy, to be stood there yesterday completely appreciating this product that was so far away from the mass-produced crap that's available in most outlets. It was absolutely incredible. Really, really nice. And I, for one, am really grateful to Chris from Pilsner Urquell for inviting us down yesterday.
Yeah, and they also had a little bar where you could pour your own beer, and I did a video of Steve pouring his own little half pint of Mliko style beer, which is basically like a beer cappuccino.
Yes.
Almost. So that's going to be up on the website for this episode, actually. Check the post for this episode. It should be on there.
So you're going to put it in the show notes, aren't you, so people can...
That's the plan, yes. If I don't do it, listeners, please feel free to shout at me. So it was a great day out. And I went home again with a bag full of beer from Steve, and my knees were hurting. But
there's a pattern emerging here, isn't there?
Such is life. That's what happens when I give you shit for keeping all the beer for yourself.
Exactly.
It starts
Yes.
coming in.
Yes. And anybody wondering what that reference about, check out last week's show where I got a huge amount of shit for not sharing beers that we'd been sent. So Mark this weekend has muled as many beers as I can fit in my bag around London.
It wasn't just a case of doing a quick swap at Liverpool Street and getting on a bus. No, I had to walk for hours upon hours with them. But never mind.
In hindsight, I probably could have shared the load with you on Friday, rather than just giving them all to you and saying, "There you go, get on with it."
Yeah, but you were a bit tired because you spent the entire afternoon, and this is a great segue, isn't it? I'm amazing.
It's beautiful, yeah.
You spent the entire afternoon at a little shindig in London Fields. That's right, isn't it? Is it London
That is
Fields?
right, yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so good.
I'm very impressed.
Called Summer Brew Fest, which is basically a hipster craft wanker get together.
Yes.
So that's your prompt to start talking about
Oh,
it, mate.
yeah, sorry, of course. Yeah, I've just got to say, I was actually a little bit taken aback by Summer Brew Fest. We got invited down there by Nick, the guy that had organised it, to the trade session, just to have a look around at there were 13 breweries there in the end. Just have a look around and have a sample of some of the beers. Now, I didn't know before the event, but by all accounts, Nick has sunk all of his life savings into this festival. It's not sponsored. It's purely something that he wanted to do, and I'm really pleased that over the weekend there seemed to be nothing but positive praise for this festival, and I think to the point where people are already asking if it's coming back next year. I think what made it such a nice event was the fact that it was so small, and it was in such a small area, and all of the brewers were really friendly and really personable, and they were happy to chat about their beers, and it was just a really nice environment, really nice atmosphere. I wasn't there for any of the evening sessions, but by all accounts there were live bands of an evening as well, just to move things along a little bit. But it was a great little event, absolutely great little event, and like I said, I'm really pleased for Nick, and I'm really grateful for the invite as well. But there's just a few other people I just wanted to give a shout out to, because I got chatting to a few brewers there, so just wanted to name check them really on this week's show. So Matt from Bear Hug Brewing, it was nice to chat to you. Lee from Hamilton Brewery, it was good to chat to you. It was also good to chat to James from Hop Stuff again, and also just had a chat with the guys from Honest Brew who were there as well. So it was nice to see quite a lot of old faces and some new ones as well.
Very good. It was all over Twitter on the entire weekend, really.
Yeah.
All the various different beer geeks that I follow on Twitter, and I don't follow that many, but all of them seem to be, if they weren't at the Brewdog AGM, they were out at London Fields.
I think that's the one thing maybe that the festival might have suffered from clashing with the Brewdog AGM, because your hardcore beer geeks were probably up at the Brewdog event, which is probably a shame, but maybe that was intentional. I don't know, but I just want to also, and I know it's been a while since I've done like a top 3 beers or anything, but I just wanted to give a rundown of what my top 3 beers were from the festival as well, because they were all brilliantly different in their own way. So, and this is in no particular order, or maybe it is because I might be building up to the big one. The first one was By the Horns Hop Slinger, which was an American pale ale, which I really enjoyed. It had those big, piney, toffee, caramelly flavours that you'd expect from your American pale ale, and that went down an absolute treat. Then the next one was actually a cask beer that was on offer from Hackney Brewery, which was the Mosaic TNT. Now, I've had a lot of single hop Mosaic beers recently, and the hop can change dependent on the beer, but this was just like, it was like sucking a boiled sweet. It was really, 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 really sweet, and then it was creamy, and then it was caramelly, and it was creamy, and it was just a really incredible beer. So if you see that one, give that a try. And then finally, and this is the one that blew me away, and everybody needs to sit down for what I'm about to say. 5 Points launched their new IPA at the festival this weekend. This was the first place that you were able to try the 5 Points IPA, 7.1%. I had it. I loved it so much. I went back for another. On finishing the second, I declared that it was almost as good as Cannonball.
Ooh.
Yes. So let's have one of our now legendary pauses for that moment.
Okay.
Yes, a southern beer, a southern IPA that I think personally can really hold up the South now in terms
Wow.
of challenging the likes of Cannonball and Axe Edge and Halcyon. So if you see the 5 Points IPA, give that a try.
Are they a big brewer, 5 Points?
They are kind of big in East London. I think
Okay.
they're growing in London. They've not got a massive range. They've got a very small core range of beers.
So where would you find their beers generally? Are they in many pubs in East London or market or something?
I've had them before in the Southampton Arms, up at Gospel Oak, where we've been before.
Yeah.
You probably see them in what you call your craft beer bars in London.
Okay.
And they do a bottled range as well, which I think, if people want to give their bottled range a go, I think they're available through the Honest Brew website. So make sure you go on to our site and get the discount for that. And if you want to get some 5 Points beers, use that discount from Honest Brew.
Indeed, and get 10% off what is, according to Stephen, the best IPA produced ever in the entire galaxy.
I don't think I said that.
Almost.
I said I think it was there and it was able to challenge the likes of Cannonball.
Right. Anything else you want to say about Summer Brewfest other than you want it to come back next year?
I'd love it to come back next year, and I'd love to go back again next year. And I'm going to keep banging on about this, but just I don't know whether Nick's a regular listener or not, but if he is, listen, mate, well done. That was a cracking festival. Really enjoyed it, and I'm glad it was a success for you.
Yeah, very good. Right, how about a bit of news, mate?
Go on then. Never quite sure these days. Okay, so a few little bits this week. First one, just to tie into what we were just talking about the Summer Brewfest. The guys from Craft Rebellion were there. Craft Rebellion are a new mail order service. They recently sent you and I some beers to try. They've got this fantastic idea where every month, if you order their beers, they'll send you a mystery beer. Which is unlabeled and unbranded. It just says mystery beer on it, and then you've got a month to try and guess what the beer is before they'll reveal it. Reason why I'm giving them a shout out this week is because if anybody was interested by the beers that were available at the Summer Brewfest, Craft Rebellion have put together a box of 14 beers which they will deliver to you, which are all from the festival itself. And for those 14 beers will cost you £45, including delivery. So
that's not bad.
It's not bad at all. So just a thank you to Martin for sending us the beers originally, and it was nice to meet Martin at the Summer Brewfest. And if you want more information, it's craftrebellion.com, or follow them on Twitter at craftrebellion. So that's the first one. Second part of this week's news, some Hawkshead news. Brewery from up north. They've brewed another exclusive own brand beer for booths. Now, I had to look up booths as a southerner, but apparently northerners will be a lot more aware of the Booths brand. Apparently it's like a northern supermarket that only exists from anywhere sort of Manchester and upwards. And Hawkshead have got a bit of a tradition of brewing beers specifically for booths. So I'm imagining this is like when your likes of Harvestone do beers for Sainsbury's, or Brewdog do their beers for Tesco's, that sort of thing. But they've done a black IPA for booths, 5.6%, available in 500ml bottles from booth stores while stocks last. So
that's a bit unusual for a supermarket beer, black IPA.
That's a very brave move. Because black IPA is still considered very craft, and Interesting that that's now going into supermarkets up
Indeed.
north, at least. And then the final point of news this week. Last week, the British Guild of Beer Writers announced their awards for 2014. Now, there's loads of information here. I'm not going to go through all of this. There's at least a dozen awards that people can enter. If you are interested in this and you want further information, check out the British Guild of Beer Writers website at beerguild.co.uk, I think is the website. If not, just put the British Guild of Beer Writers into Google.
Yeah, just Google it.
But there's some interesting awards in there. Interestingly, it seems all of the awards are sponsored by major breweries. So you've got the Molson Coors Award for the best beer writer nationally, Adnams Award regionally, Fuller's for trade, Brains for online drinking, for beer and travel writer, Shepherd Neame, Thwaites. So there's a lot of big breweries putting their support behind that. And that's the end of this week's news.
Yay! Very good. I didn't mean to say yay, as in...
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Right.
I could see you losing interest.
No. Should we get on to this week's beer, mate?
Yeah, please, I'm gasping. That's lots of talking to do before we actually get to the beer this week.
We're back to our Breweries of London series bit.
We are.
This is we've spoken about this brewery in the past, and we may have even reviewed one of their beers. We did.
Yeah.
This is a beer from Sambrook's Brewery, who are down Battersea Way. Pretty local to me. And tonight we are reviewing their Pumphouse Pale Ale, which is 4.2% and is named after the iconic pump house in Battersea Park. This golden coloured ale is packed full of hop character, which give it a sharp marmalade taste. Ooh. And a spicy, slightly citrus aroma, ideal for spicy food or simply when you are longing for a thirst-quenching pint, which we both are because it's hot in the southeast at the moment. And we are thirsty. So,
We are very thirsty.
without further ado, let's get into it.
Yep. I've got mine cracked.
Oh,
There's a lovely aroma coming out of that, isn't there?
That's nice and fresh, that is.
Yeah. That smells really appetising.
Yeah. Let's get it poured.
It's pouring the sort of colour that you would expect from a golden sort of pale ale.
That is carbonated like buggery.
Yeah.
That is nice and fizzy.
That's
Lovely straw colour.
Good looking drink.
Very slight head on it. Smells delightful. Well, you can really get the citrus off that. You can really get the fruits.
Yeah. You get like it's ever so subtle, but it's enough to let you know it's there in terms of the aroma.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice aroma. That's a good looking beer. Actually, I'm looking forward to this one.
Well, let's get into it, mate. Let's take a gulp.
Let's do
big,
it.
It's a big bottle. We have a lot to get through. It's not one of these little American ones. This is a proper half litre. This.
Yeah.
So, cheers, mate.
Cheers. Oh.
Deary me.
Oh. That's nice.
That went.
That's.
I've got sod all left.
You've nearly necked that in one.
I have. I had to stop because I thought I have to review some of this.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It's like for how carbonated it is coming out of the bottle. You get none of that on the mouth feel. It's really, really smooth as it goes down, and you just want to keep drinking, and as you've just demonstrated, just keep drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking it. It finishes with a lovely, refreshing wave of soft bitterness. But
yeah,
that's perfect. That's stunning.
that is a proper summer beer. That is. It's light. You're not fighting it as you're drinking it. It's very slightly sweet. Like you say, it's gassy. but it leaves that light bitterness at the end, which, just enough to get you wanting more. I mean, there aren't any flavours bursting out about it. You're not getting a full whack of like orange or, other citrus in there, but it's sweet and light enough. Yeah, continue, Steve.
Yeah, sorry, you caught me mid belch there. I was having a cheeky one while you were talking. I agree with everything you say. It's perfectly balanced. The flavours in there are that they're not too bitter, they're not too sweet. You do get a hint of oranginess as it comes through. That then gives way to a wave of lemon. There's a little bit of grapefruit in there as well, maybe. And it's then just this got this lovely, soft, bitter finish. But it's not an uncomfortable bitter finish, and it just keeps you going and makes you want to keep just going back for more.
Yep. It's
a proper it's a phrase that I've been using a lot recently. Is a guzzler. You could you could have the first one would go, and you'd want it to go as well, but then you could sit back and you could just sit back in the sun. On a Sunday afternoon in your garden, just having bottle after bottle of this. I think at 4.2%, it's not going to do you an awful amount of damage.
No, not at all. Real thirst quencher. We needed this one tonight because.
Oh yeah.
You were talking about how thirsty you were. I was thirsty, and yeah, that hit the spot straight away. That did, and it's got that kind of. The aftertaste has the kind of like this very slightly sweet, sticky, bitter orange. But as you're drinking it, you're not overwashed with flavours to make you're not overwhelmed with them, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
Just really easygoing.
Yeah, I think this, as you mentioned earlier, this is the second time we've done a Sambrook's beer now, and if I remember rightly, the first one that we did was back in our very first season.
Yep.
When we were still just starting out on this little venture of ours, and we were kind of still choosing what we were going to drink next week, the week before, and it was one of those that we both said, oh well, we can get that from our local supermarkets. But if I remember rightly, we raved about how good that was.
Yeah.
Back then as well, and I can't for the life of me remember the name of it now.
Junction.
Junction. Yeah, that's one of their core beers.
Yeah.
They've got Junction and Wandle as their two core beers, and then the Pumphouse Pale Ale kind of comes in and out of season, and it's something that I was chatting to Sean Knight about, who's their head brewer, and you can listen to that at the end of the show as well, because as it's one of our Breweries of London beers, we've got an interview with the head brewer from Sambrook's at the end of the show, so make sure you hang around for that.
Indeed, so I'm fighting the gas bubbles at the moment. I kind of drank that a little bit too quickly.
Yeah, maybe you're a little bit too thirsty there on that first guzzle.
Oh, this is sweet as. This is very nice.
This is a real stunner. I'm really surprised actually, because I've had this before. It came out not last year, the year before, as part of the Sainsbury's Great British Beer Hunt that they used to do. It was one of the beers that were featured in that, and I had it then, and I don't remember raving this much about it then. So I don't know whether they've changed the recipe or simply that my palate's moved on again, and I'm now more accustomed to this kind of style, and that this is more of my favoured style.
Well, I think they will have somewhat of the benefit of circumstance at the moment, because it's definitely the weather for this style of beer. And I would imagine that it is quite in contrast to what you've had over the last few days, especially on Friday, when you would have been attacking those really crafty IPAs and everything like that.
Yeah.
For me, this is everyone knows who listens to the show knows that this is the kind of beer that I lap up. I love my golden ales, I love my sweet pales, and this is right up there. I wouldn't say it's not an award winner. It's not something that they're going to be raving about at the craft beer hangouts. But if you want a very well put together summer beer, you can't really go wrong with this.
Yeah. I'd agree. You say that, and if I walked into a bar and saw this on the pump, I would be tempted probably to go for this over quite a lot of other beers.
Yeah, I'd love to see how this tastes straight from the brewer. To see if when you get it proper fresh, how sharp those fruit flavours are coming through. Because I mentioned marmalade on the bottle. Yeah, how pronounced is that when it's really, really fresh? Because we don't know how long this has been in the bottle for.
No, it's best before rather than a
best before November. One. So it's probably, it's probably at least a few months old in the bottle, I would think. I don't know how long what shelf life they put on these type of beers.
Even so, it's even if it is a couple of months old, the flavours coming through in that are absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
You're picking up all the flavours in there, and that's a really, really solid beer.
Yeah.
And it's I'm gonna say this because I know we've got one particular listener that loves the way that I pronounce this particular type of beer. So this part of the show, just for you, Matt, at Higgs Boson 1, we are drinking Sambrook's Pumphouse Pale Ale.
Pale Ale.
Pale Ale.
We like a bottle of pale ale, don't we, mate?
Bottle of pale ale. So that's just for you, Matt, because I know how much you love it. Cheers for the feedback, by the way.
Oh dear. I love your accent, Steve. Don't let them bring you down, buddy.
Mate, if I cared, I wouldn't still be doing it.
I'm searching on Untapped for pale ale, thinking that this is going to come up. What the?
For pale ale.
Me? Pale ale. I search for.
Pale ale. Pale ale.
It's like, yeah, this one's going to come right at the top of that search. Ah, dearie me, I'm going to give this a 4 because I think it's absolutely delightful.
I think it is.
And I'm going to write
that. It's a really enjoyable beer.
By the way, listeners, you can follow us on Untapped, and we're getting a lot of new followers on Untapped lately, which is brilliant. I'm at Roku, and Stephen, you're at Beer O'Clock Show?
Beer O'Clock Show Steve.
Beer O'Clock Show Steve on Untapped. So if you use Untapped...
a nice, easy handle to remember.
Yeah. If you use Untapped and you want to follow us and see what we're drinking, and also so we can see what you're drinking, at Beer O'Clock Show Steve, or at Roku, ROKKU on Untapped. That'd be fantastic. I got a couple of badges on the weekend, which I'm quite pleased with. Didn't get one then. That's disappointing.
Oh, it gets to a point where your badges become fewer and far between.
Yeah. I actually got 2 badges for both times I had Pilsner on the weekend. I had the Beer Connoisseur level 4 on Friday from when we had it on tap, and then the Crispers Day badge when we had it the tank beer on Sunday. So yeah, I'm racking them up. I didn't get a badge for having 300 unique check-ins though.
No, I think your next badge will be 500 now. I think you get one at 250 and then one at 500.
It's like a year and a half away. It's taken me 2 years to get to 309.
I'm gradually edging my way closer to the 1,000, which is a big milestone.
I remember when you got 500.
Yeah, I had to put out a Twitter vote and everything for people which beer I was going to have. Can you imagine what I'm going to do for 1,000?
Oh Christ! Oh dearie me!
That was a delightful beer. That really was.
I'm trying to finish mine now.
I've really enjoyed that this evening.
We were worried about having to drink 500 mils. Would we be able to handle it? And we're necking it now. Just finishing it up.
And it's maintained those flavours all the way down to the end. Smoothness is there. That soft, bitter citrus finish is absolutely lovely. Highly recommend this beer.
Indeedy. Right, Steve.
Yes.
Any final words on Sambrook's Pumphouse Pale Ale? I think you've summed it up quite well.
Yeah, I don't think I need to say anything else other than, again, just to remind people just to hang around until the end of the show, where you can check out an interview that I did with Sean Knight, who's the head brewer of Sambrook's.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not much else I can say. It's lovely and fresh and light and slightly bitter and slightly sweet and slightly fruity and perfect summer beer, in my opinion. Right, mate, let's move on. We've got a few little things just to mention before we head off. One of which is the Instagram of the week.
Yes. Getting a few people using the hashtag Cheers Guys now on Instagram. We're getting a regular following of people that are posting pictures with that hashtag. This week was a tough decision to just go with the one. And you would have already seen the winner announced on Twitter. But this week I'm giving it to @SparkyRight, which is at SparkyRight, @SparkyRight, Mike Gibbs, for a picture that he posted of a bottle of the Colonel Pale Ale, Citra Galaxy. The reason why I chose this was because the picture just made me want to go out and buy a bottle of it and drink it. It looked that appealing in the picture that he took of it. So, well done, Mike. You're our Instagram of the week.
Yay!
And we reposted that earlier on in the week. And if you want to check out Mike's picture, it's now also up on our Instagram account @BeerO'ClockShow.
Very good, and you can gram us your photos with the hashtag Cheers Guys. And you too could be in the running for a prizeless competition called Instagram of the Week.
I might start doing like a Instagram of the Week Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Where we just start putting. I've only got about 4 or 5 people that are doing it at the moment, so
it'll be like putting your kids' pictures on the fridge when they bring them home from kindergarten.
Exactly. Yeah. You can. I've found an app now that allows me to regram things because you can't do it in the Instagram app. So whenever we choose an Instagram of the week, we will regram it, and you'll be able to find that with the hashtag, either the hashtag Cheers Guys or just the hashtag Beer O'Clock, which I used on some of our stuff as well.
Very good, very good. And guys, don't forget our little discount list, which you can get on our Season 4 beer list on the website at beeroclockshow.co.uk, where we have discount codes for Ales by Mail, Honest Brew, and the Beer Boutique. Each of those are offering 10% off your order if you just buy one of the beers that's on our beer list for the season. Well worth it, because they do have a very good stock list, each of them. I'm having to very much try and talk quite sharply.
Okay. Shall I just jump in for a second there
Yes.
then to help out maybe? I just want to I actually want to say thank you to a few people this week, because we put out a little snap question on Twitter last weekend that just asked for a little bit of feedback about the show, and I just want to thank everybody for their feedback about what we do, because it seems as though that the people that listen to what we do like what we do and think that we've got it right. So thanks to everyone for your feedback. Thanks for taking the time just to send that single tweet, because that is so important to us to get your feedback, because it does help us to just make little adjustments here and there to the show. So thanks to everyone for that. And then I've got a thank you by name here as well, because this was absolutely brilliant. I don't know if anybody saw this. It would have been last weekend, but it will also be up on Instagram. David at Broadford Brewer, thank you for our twatty beer doodle.
That's all right.
Which is absolutely brilliant. If you don't follow David at Broadford Brewer, follow him, because he does these things called twatty beer doodles, and you can search him out by hashtags. And he's got a range of, he must have at least 35 of them, because we are number 35. But he did us this little twatty beer doodle, and I was chuckling about it for a few minutes last night. It's just brilliant. I'm not going to say too more about it, because I want people to go and search it out and find it, but I just want to thank David for taking the time to draw that for us. So thanks, mate. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it was very good. Right, buddy, what's our beer for next week?
Next week, because we'll be releasing on American Independence Day, we are doing an American beer on next week's show. We're going to be doing, finally, be doing Anchor Steam Beer, which I think we've been planning to do for about 3 seasons now, and it kept getting shunted back. So yeah, next week, if anybody wants to drink along with us, you should be able to get hold of a bottle of Anchor Steam Beer. It's widely available, but that's next week's beer.
Yeah, if you're struggling and you're in London, just go to Whole Foods in Piccadilly. I know they always have it in there. It's one of their standbys. But it's, yeah, like I said, Steve, it should be available in many places because it's a pretty popular American beer.
Yeah, and some would say probably one of the what could be considered as one of the original craft beers as well.
Well, we can talk about that next week.
We will indeed talk about that next week.
You can follow us on Twitter at Beer O'Clock Show, which is the same for our Instagram account, and the website is beeroclockshow.co.uk. Soon to have a redesign. Exciting stuff. That'll be coming in the next month or so. Until then, you'll have to put up with the shit one that we've got now. You can follow us on... I've already said Twitter and Instagram.
You've done that.
I was about to say,
bit,
you can find the podcast if you have problems finding it. You can Jesus Christ!
Not that you're having problems finding it, John. You can find the podcast on iTunes, and we're also on the Stitcher Radio app.
That's right, and on the very front page of the website is a little Stitcher player. So just click through to that if you use Stitcher. They've got an iPhone app and all that kind of shit. So if you find us on iTunes and you subscribe, or on Stitcher, please give us either a rating, review, or a little thumbs up on Stitcher because it really does help, and we appreciate your support. As always, I'm done. That was a great beer. I drank it a little bit too quickly, and it's time for bed. Until next week, Steve. Thanks, mate.
Highlight of my week, mate.
Yes. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
It's Beer O'Clock and welcome to another instalment of our Season 4 Breweries of London series. This week I'm down by the River Thames at Sambrook's Brewery with head brewer Sean Knight. Sean, welcome to the show.
Hi.
How are you today?
Yeah, good.
Excellent. Sean, let's start off with the obvious questions. Tell us a little bit about Sambrook's. Give us a little bit of the history of the brewery here.
Well, Sambrook's been around about 5 years now. We growing quite quickly. I've been here for 3.5 years, and I've seen quite a big change. When I started, we were brewing twice a week. We're now brewing 9 to 10 times a week. Started off by a guy called Duncan Sambrook. He was an accountant, and in 2007 he decided he wanted to make a career change. He was very keen to go into the Great British Beer Festival, and when they went there that year, they noticed that there were only 2 breweries representing London at the festival, and that's mainly because Young's had just moved out. So he got an idea of starting a brewery, quite small to start off, sort of in a garage, delivered to some local pubs. And when he, along his sort of path, he met a guy called David Welsh, who used to own and run Ringwood Brewery. And David really liked Duncan's idea, but thought it had to be a bit bigger than that, and suggested a 20-barrel brew kit, which was quite a scary thought for Duncan at the time, but David persuaded him, went along and set up in 2008, and here we are now, brewing 8 to 9 to 10 times a week.
And you mentioned there, so this was back in 2007, 2008, that there were only a handful of breweries in London then, and as listeners to particularly this season will know, there's now about 50, 60 breweries in London?
54 is the last I heard.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's grown a lot. And the nice thing to see is there are actually some bigger breweries opening up, not just 5-barrel breweries, in the last 6 months. So I think the Truman's Brewery's reopened, and a few other breweries. So yeah, it's good to see, and I think it's all promoting the industry in London, because 200 years ago London used to be like brewing capital of the world, and then it slowly just died away. So it's really nice to see this revival.
So in terms of you and how you came to be at Sambrook's. You said you've been here about 3 years now.
Yeah.
What was your background before Sambrook's? Were you brewing before then?
No, I come from South Africa, and we've got the big SAB Miller breweries there that sort of run the market. Pretty bland beers, so wasn't too interested in beers before I moved over here. And I've got an engineering degree, which I moved over to look to get in the oil industry. Happened to help out at Sambrook's Brewery for a week. Never left. Fell in love with cask ales, and yeah, now I've been here 3 years. And yeah, no brewing background, but learned a hell of a lot in just a short space of time, because our brew kit's traditional, very hands-on kit to brew on.
And you're the head brewer. What's the size of the team that you've got working here with you as well?
I've got 3 brewers under me, and 2 brewery assistants, and then we've got 4 delivery drivers that deliver our beer, and a handful of office staff. We're brewing twice a day, 4 times a week. So we work shift work, and yeah, it's the nice thing I think about the brewery is we've trained everyone up on site to brew. All our brewers haven't come from previous brewing history. We've got 2 of our brewers worked at the Young's Brewery for I think about 20 years each, never on the brewing side. So for them to come here, be trained up to brew is really nice for them. They have a big passion for the industry. Yeah.
And tell us a little bit more about the range of beers that Sambrook's do, because you don't do a massive range, but you've got a fairly decent core range of beers.
Well, one thing we did when we started, our first year we only brewed Wandle, which is our flagship beer, 3.8% best bitter, and we didn't try to branch off, dilute our brand or anything. We just stuck with Wandle, got it known in the pubs, got the brand known, got the brewery known. I think it worked really well in our favour. And then each year on our birthday we've launched a new beer. So we launched Junction, which is a premium ale, 4.5% next. Then we launched our Powerhouse Porter, which is our take on a London Porter, which we thought was really important to have in our range. And then our Pumphouse Pale Ale we launched the next year as our summer seasonal. I think those are our core brands. What we're looking to do this year is branch out to having sort of seasonals. We started that a bit last year, so we've got Lavender Hill, which is we put a bit of honey in as one of our seasonals. We've got Battersea Rye, which is our rye ale, and we just actually brewed a mild, which we're launching on the 1st of March.
Okay. And we've been reviewing the Pumphouse Pale on this week's show, so can you tell us a little bit more about the beer from your perspective? How did it come about? What does it taste like from your point of view?
The pale ale was done by the brewer before me, who was from New Zealand, and he wanted to sort of leave a little bit of trademark on him. So we've got a really nice New Zealand hop in there called Wakatua, which gives a really nice citrusy aroma to the beer. Otherwise, we've got English hops. We've got First Gold as our alpha butchering hop, and then we've got Solea and
You've forgotten the ingredients.
Yeah.
You've been so much.
It's Solea and Admiral as the other hops. We also we've just got a pale ale, Morris Otter Grist, which gives we fermented up quite nicely, so the hops sort of come in. It's got a nice crisp finish from the hops. Gives it a nice sort of light golden colour from the malt. Yeah.
Okay. And where does the inspiration come from for new beers? Is that you? Is that Duncan? Is it the team? How do you come up with new ideas for beers?
Duncan and I work on the recipes together. we come up with an idea, and then he lets me get the recipe formulated, and then review it with him, and then we go and put it through the 20 barrel brew kit. So we spend quite a bit of time to make sure it's right. We we look at what's trending in the market, but we also pick a beer that sort of we would like to brew. So this is what our seasonal range is going to start involving, doing different kinds of beers that you wouldn't normally see from our brewery in cars, but we're going to look at putting them in. So yeah, we've got quite a few ideas to come up with.
Okay. And looking ahead to the rest of the year, what can we look forward to from Sambrook's? What have you got up your sleeves for the remainder of the year?
We are looking to, at the brewery, we've got a brewery tap sort of bar, which we're looking to have. Every time we launch a seasonal, we're going to have a party at the brewery, sort of an open day. It'll be advertised on our website. We at the stage now where we're at our full capacity in the brewery, so we bring, like I said, 9 times a week, which is our capacity. So we're looking at increasing our brew house. We're looking at putting a 40 barrel brew kit in, but we're going to keep our 20 barrel kit as well. So we'll be able to brew seasonals on the smaller kit and brew our core range on the 40 barrel kit. We're also looking at bottling all our seasonals. We set up a bottling line down in Ramsgate, so we're going to have a whole seasonal bottle range, I think in 330 mils, and then our core range in 540 mils.
Okay. And we spoke earlier about the number of breweries just in London at the moment. Obviously, there's lots of breweries all over the UK. Why should people choose Sambrook's? What is it that you feel makes your beer stand out?
We've focused a lot on quality here. We try make sure every batch is consistent, or every brand is consistent through the different batches. We spend a lot of time doing tests in our lab, as well as spend a lot of time monitoring the fermentations. We do a lot of outsourced lab tests as well, and then the brewers all do a tasting test every week. We taste every batch. What we've been doing at Sambrook's is we brew really sessionable, balanced beers, which are very easy to drink, very easy to get into. We try to promote cask ales as much as we can. We have launched a cake product, which is sort of, we're hoping will bridge sort of lager drinkers into more flavoured beers like cask ales. So yeah, we're trying to do that.
Okay. And again, just referring back to the London brewing scene, there's a lot of you at the moment. What does it mean to you and to Sambrook's to be part of that London brewing scene at the moment?
Well, I think it's really exciting at the moment. We've got a lot of outlets in London. I think it's over 4,000 places we can sell beer in, so we've got a really big market. And I think a lot of what's great about the London scene is it's quite diverse. There's a lot of different kinds of beers, a lot of different styles, a lot of different size breweries, and I think everyone's just trying to fit into place. I think the one thing I really like about the brewing industry is really networked. So we've got the London Brewers Alliance, where all the breweries have come together to try and promote the industry together. There's a good network between all the brewers, which is great to see. We go on pub walks a few times a year with all the brewers, get to chat about what everyone's doing. I think it's just a really good time, not only in London, I think in the UK, to be in the brewing industry. There's a lot changing and a lot of good beers coming out.
Okay. And if people want to know a little bit more information about Sambrook's Brewery, where can they find out more information about what you do and where to buy your beers?
We've got our website, so we've got quite a bit on there. We've got someone running our social media, so I think on Twitter, Facebook, a few other social media sites. Our brewery shop's open every day of the week from I think 10 till 6, and we open on Saturdays from 10 to 1. We also got a very open doors policy at the brewery. If someone wants to come down and just ask some questions, we're here. We're also trying to make the brewery very approachable for home brewers. we're looking at setting up a pilot plant in the breweries, probably in the shop, and also start selling some homebrew ingredients, and just pushing home brewing and the brewing industry as much as we can.
And we know we've got quite a few people that listen to the show that do a bit of home brewing. If people wanted to approach you about that, how do they go about coming down and maybe talking to you about that?
They can email. There's an email address on our website. They can email questions. I'm more than happy to try answer some questions that people have. I've spoken to quite a lot of home brewers before. I actually quite enjoy it. There's quite a big difference between the commercial size brewing that we do in home brewing, but the basic idea is all the same. If I can give anyone advice, I'm more than happy to. So,
okay. Thank you for that. I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate that advice as well. Look, I'm not going to keep you any longer because I know you need to get back into the brewery to get things sorted down there today. So thank you very much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, good luck with the seasonal releases this year.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers.